Hello people, and welcome to another video. So this video is going to be based on my post thoughts and feelings coming back from the Hadrian's Wall hike that I completed yesterday. Now, you will have seen the videos by now, I'm sure, and if you haven't, go and check them out. I record every single day. Some days I recorded a lot, some days I didn't record so much, but overall you will see that the trip is full of highs and lows all the way along. It was a very crazy trip. And going through the trip, I was making notes of things that were working well and things that weren't working so well, so I can try and iron them out going forward for future trips. Because I have given myself the challenge of that I want to now try and complete every single national trail in this country. I think it'd be a nice thing to be able to say you've done. And clearly this was the first one we've done. I've done a lot of hiking in the past, don't get me wrong. I went to Norway last year and we did a week worth of hiking. But this was the first trip that I really wanted to hit some hard miles on. And I've been basing a lot of my thought processes and kit on the thru hikers in America. I've been doing a lot of training as well in terms of fitness, so I was going in hard on this trip. And my God, it was hard. So I've got a few key points. I don't want to ramble on too much, but I just want to kind of talk to you guys about my feelings coming back from the trip, and you know, maybe you guys can get something from it. But for me, it's going to be a good memory log for me to watch back in a year or two when I need this information again. So we started the trip I started the trip with 3 other guys, so there were 4 of us in total, and I finished it with 1 other guy, and that guy wasn't even there at the start. It quickly became apparent after starting the trip that the fitness levels of the rest of the group weren't up to, I'm not going to say not up to scratch, but weren't up to the same level as me. I'm not trying to slate anyone here because I love everyone that came, but I didn't consider that in the planning, that there was going to be such a difference. I didn't consider myself to really be much fitter than anyone else. And I don't think it was fitness either. To a degree, there was a lot of things that contributed to the reasons of why people dropped out. So it's not just fitness. So I apologise for that. Anyway, it quickly became apparent that not everyone could keep up with the pace, and not everybody could adapt in the way that I think I was in a better mental state than some folk, and I was more prepared maybe. So this quickly became apparent, and people started to drop out. Peter dropped out first, and this was due to he's getting really bad blisters. That wasn't something that any of us could have foreseen, but we tried our best, or Peter definitely tried his best to try and sort that out. But it just quickly became apparent that it was going to be too bad, and we weren't going to be able to get to the finish line for when we had to be at the finish line. So first day, Peter dropped out, and that was a massive shame, and that took a hit on morale straight away. Then day 2 came around, and something happened that I have never experienced in all my life, and it's definitely something I'm going to take with me and definitely research into, because it was scary. So without going into too much detail, I woke up in the middle of the night, and Charlie, bless him, was just projectile vomiting everywhere. I mean, there was just sick all over the campsite. And first of all, we thought it was the water, because we'd filtered some water, and Charlie was the only one to have drunk that water, because we got to a campsite and we all just shut off the tap water. But breaking it down and looking further into it, we did everything that we physically had to do to make that water safe. So I don't think it was the water. We filtered it and we boiled it. We did everything we could have done. And the stream, from all my knowledge and experience, the stream looked like it was a good stream, you know, to collect water from. Probably not the best stream in the world, but it was decent. So I think we now think that Charlie was ill due to exhaustion and exhaustion sickness. On that second day, he was really struggling, and he was suffering in silence. And I did note that at the time, but it didn't look serious as what it apparently was. So we just left Charlie. We didn't leave him, but we just, you know, we kept pace with Charlie, and he just kept going. He kept going, and he really pushed himself. And I think he was proud of himself for that, and I was proud of him for that. You know, it's this trip we all pushed ourselves to our absolute limits. But Charlie clearly pushed himself to a point where his body just said no, I think, which was very interesting. And he threw up for hours. I mean, from 2 o'clock at night till 8 o'clock in the morning, the poor kid was just up, throwing up. And I feel really bad that I wasn't there for him. At the same time, I was asleep and I didn't really know what was going on. If I knew, I would have been there for him. But I think Charlie didn't want to wake us up because I think in his head he knew that he wasn't going to be able to carry on, and he thought that he didn't want to wake us up because if we were awake and we were getting sleep deprived, we wouldn't have been able to carry on either. So I think in his own head he was kind of taking one for the team, which of course I appreciate. So that was Charlie out. Again, a massive blow, and I'm now thinking like, God, what have I done here? Like, I've arranged this trip and just nobody can cope with it. And I just felt really bad. You know, everyone's booked time off work, etc., etc., and people are just starting to drop out like flies. Eventually, we arranged for Peter to pick him up, blah blah blah. So Charlie's now at the picture, and then we start walking, and there's currently now Jordan and Richard with me. Richard joined the night before, so he joined a little bit later than everybody else. Half an hour into the walk, Jordan decides it's too much, and looking back now, we now know he was edging on to exhaustion sickness as well. He had a really bad stomach, he was feeling dizzy, and he was saying he knew in the back of his head that if he carried on, he wasn't going to be able to make it, and then he was going to be stuck. At that time period, Charlie was getting collected, so he had the availability to be able to get picked up. Going forward, he wouldn't have had that option, and he thought that he would have held me and Richard back, so he made that decision to drop out. Again, a massive blow on morale. At this point, I'm thinking, oh my God, I've got 4 days left, and I've only got one guy to deal with. Like, what happens if I get ill or he gets ill? What are we going to do then? I felt really bad because I was feeling great. I was feeling fine. I didn't have a problem. I didn't have any blisters. I wasn't exhausted, but everyone else was. And I just felt very confused. So that was it. Jordan was out. So going forward, point one is that clearly I arranged too many miles per day. Not everyone could cope with that. I could only just about cope with that. Day 4, I had a really low day, and it was a good job that we met some other guys on the trail that could help pull me through. Generally though, I am very proud of myself, and I am glad that I did it because I now know what my limits are. Well, I suppose not because I haven't reached that level of exhaustion sickness yet, but I know that I can do a lot more than I thought I could. So I am glad I did it, but at the same time, going forward, I know I'm going to have to arrange or schedule in just shorter days because there were very long days and it wasn't as enjoyable as it could have been. We need to be averaging 14-15 miles a day instead of the 18 to 20 we were doing. So yeah, I need to do slightly shorter miles. I do enjoy the long days, but they need to be slightly shorter. The next point is that we all learned a lot about our personal bodies. For a few years now, I've been really paying attention to my body in these outdoor situations. You know, I now know when I need to eat. I know how much water I need. I know my own body. I know when my muscles are done. I know when mentally I need a break. That's something that I don't think everyone in the group had. because that's just the nature of what it is. I don't expect everyone to know that. So it's definitely good for everyone to have, you know, they're starting to learn their boundaries now, and it's something that I think it's something that's really important when you're in a wilderness situation. You know, you need to know yourself very well. So I'm definitely, although it was bad for everybody, I also think it was very good for everybody. I would say that, I suppose, but it is good to know your own body. Point 3 is that we originally planned to wild camp, going throughout the trip, and it quickly became apparent that the miles were too much and we were getting exhausted, and by the time it was time to set up, it was like 8 o'clock at night, and we had no time to be trying to find wild camping spots. So the best thing to do was to go into campsites, and having campsites is a lot more convenient. Just a simple reality of being able to turn on a tap just to get water. When you're covering those kind of miles every day, you need to just have to drink. And if you've got to keep filtering your water all the time, it's just taking it out of you. It's just another thing you've got to worry about. So going forward, if I'm going to be trying to cover those kind of miles, campsites are definitely the way forward. It just makes it that little bit easier, that little bit more enjoyable. It becomes more of a holiday than a mission. I've already said that I really did enjoy the challenge. I'm now confident that I'm a lot fitter than I thought I was, basically, and mentally, physically, and just all around. I didn't think, not so much, I think it's just because everyone else was dropping out, etc. It's a good comparison to kind of where you are in terms of everything. So I found that really interesting, and I really do hope the rest of the guys got something from it, because I do feel bad about it, really bad about it in fact. But at the same time, I found it a very interesting learning curve. I've got a lot from it. So yeah, that was that. And the last but not least was the food. If you've watched my backpacking food video that I posted before the trip, you will have heard me say that I think I got it right. I think I was getting closer to what I actually needed calorifically wise when hiking, and I'm happy to say that I did. I carried a lot of food. I think I was carrying nearly 800 grams of food per day, and I ate all of it, and it was a good amount, very good amount. I ate all the food every day, and it was the perfect amount. You know, I really felt full, but it wasn't too much. I wasn't carrying dead weight. So I'm glad about that. So I now know, again, it's going back to knowing your own body. I now know exactly how much I need to eat and what kind of foods work well for me. So yeah, going forward for the future national trails, I think I'm going to get it right a lot better now. Well, the other thing was the logistics of the trip. I tried to accommodate too many people in terms of trying to get everyone there. Going forward, I'm either going to make it so that I can make sure everyone's there, or if some people can't make it, it's just going to be a little bit tough luck, I'm afraid, because it makes everything so much harder. When you've got to, getting home for us was an absolute logistical night. It was made worse because everyone was had to go home. I understand that. But it was just a logistical nightmare trying to get back home, because there were just cars all over the country and we were just trying to collect them all, and it just made it so much harder. If we could just go in one car, go to where we need to get to, and get a bus back, that's how it needs to be, instead of worrying about everything else. But it was the first time we'd done it. I liked to consider myself half decent at this planning malark because I've done a lot of it, but this was a different kettle of fish, as it were. So yeah, I've learned a lot from it, and I hope that maybe you guys maybe learn a little bit from it. I don't know. But yeah, that's just my thought processes coming back from that trip. It was a tough one. Learned a lot. So yeah, sorry to my fellow brethren. I'm sorry you couldn't make it. It's not your fault. It's my fault. It's just one of those things that it won't happen again, and I'll get used to it. But it was a tough one to try and arrange. So going forward, we'll hopefully get it right. But until next time, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again very, very soon.